Hello and welcome to a quick startup tutorial of the Captain Sim Boeing 707. In case you're wondering why I'm standing at the apron with the standard Cessna, in fact this is an important part of this tutorial because we need this to create a kind of cold and dark state for the Boeing. So what I'll do next is I'll switch to the cockpit. In fact, I'm going to switch to the 2D version of the cockpit and cut the mixture so that the engine switches off. And next I'll switch the mixture back just to go to the normal state. And now I'm switching, or I'm loading the Boeing 707. Okay, so we've loaded up the Boeing 707, and this will give you the plane in this condition. Engine switched off, some of the systems switched on, some of the systems switched off. But in essence, it should give you the plane like I have it now. And I have some predefined views with EasyDock, so don't wonder, but you can perfectly do it with your own views. So I'm switching to the engineer upper panel, and I'm going to switch on the battery. In fact, this is here already the case, and I'm going to switch the load selector to battery. And next thing, we'll switch the galley power off, which is already off, and then we'll pop up this little panel here. You can use Shift 2. This will give you this panel, and we'll request external power and external air. Next, we'll switch on the ground service like this, and the turbo compressors should be off, so we'll switch these ones off. And next we'll give the we'll switch the essential power selector to external power. You can see the voltmeters go up. And next, the AC paralleling selector to external power as well. And as I said before, the turbo compressors have to be off. Next, at the overhead panel, you should check for the emergency flap indicator, which is a little bit up here, and it should be normal. That is fine. Next is the anti-skid should be on. This is fine as well. Then back to the engineer upper panel, the temperature selectors, you can switch them as required. I will give it a middle setting to 75. And the equipment cooling, which is at the lower panel, should be switched to normal. The cabin temperature zone control, which is again on the upper panel, you can switch this like this. I don't think it does depend much, but you can do it. And the auxiliary crew heat valves should be on, both on. The valve selector switch here at the coolant air systems should be switched to off, and the air conditioning units should both be off. The bleed air, that's an important part for engine start, as in fact they should all be on, so switch all engine bleed airs on, and the wing valves, sorry for my English, the wing valves should be open. Now let's check the lower panel again. The boost pumps should all be on. They are on, and the valve position open, and the boost pumps all on, so that's fine. And next we'll go to the overhead panel, where we'll switch on the pitot heats. The window heat, we'll switch it to low, and the probe heats to on as well, which makes this light switch off. Then we'll go to the engine start panel, and we'll switch it to the low pressure setting. And there's a switch at the first officer panel. It's down here. To be honest with you, I do not really know what it does. It is some switch, and you have to put it to the upper position. So I'm sorry for not knowing what this switch exactly does, but this has to be at the upper position. Next, we'll go to the throttle quadrant, and we'll put all fuel control switches to cut off, and the throttle lever should be at the idle detent. And next, and you have to do this in you cannot wait a long time, because when you switch on the engine 1 start, then you have to go to the throttle really quick. So maybe take a look at this procedure just now, and then pause the video and do it yourself. So go to the overhead panel, switch on the first engine to ground, go to the throttle quadrant, and slightly advance the throttle a bit, and slightly advance the fuel control switch a little bit. And you see the N1 rising and all that stuff, and you should already hear the engine coming to life. And as soon as it spools up, just go to the fuel control switch to the idle detent and return the throttle to idle. And now you can do this for all the remaining engines. You can. The next one is number 4 in the sequence, so we'll advance the throttle a little bit, advance the fuel control a little bit, wait for the engine to spool up. Wonderful. Advance it to idle, return the throttle to idle, and repeat all that stuff. Next one is engine number 2. And I'll repeat this procedure for engine number 3 as well. See at the smoke coming out of the engine that it's started. Okay, return to the after engine. Now we have a good engine start, and you can return to the overhead panel, and you can switch the ground start switch to off. You can now disconnect external air. We don't need that anymore. And now we'll switch on the air conditioning units. And we'll start all the turbo compressors here. Bleed air, you can switch that off right now. Ram air switch should be open now. And the coolant system switch should be at the secondary heat exchange position. And the turbofan exit valve override switches should be open, and the inlet and outlet or exit valve should be open as well. The essential power switch should now go to generator number 3. I think you can vary that in fact, but I switch it to generator 3. The selector for AC paralleling as well to generator 3, and you can switch the load selector valves to TR2, and ground services, you can switch those off now. The galley power, you can switch that on now, and now it's time to disconnect external power. So we don't have any warning lights here, we don't have any warning lights here or here. So you are ready for taxi right now. So this was my quick startup tutorial for the Boeing 707 from cold and dark state. I hope it will be useful to you. I know that it's not an in-depth tutorial of the Boeing 707, but I think you can go more into the systems from this point, and it gives you a pretty much ready to fly aircraft just to try it out a bit, and everything else you can see in other tutorials from other guys. I hope this helps you, and until next time, happy landings.